do guide-on procedures. Just kidding, it's not a pleasure. Anyway, so I'm going to start this kind of a little different. I'm going to teach you the parts of the guide-on, because a lot of people like to get this wrong. Does anybody know what this is called? What? Pendant. Not pendant. Not with a D. There's no D in there. A pendant is a necklace. This is a pendant. Pendant, okay? As you know, slides over. Normally there's a little leather strap in here with an eyelid in there, and there's a hook up here to hold it on. Slide it over, hook the leather strap on. That's how you put a pendant on. Then you have, what's this called? Spade. The spade just screws onto the top. Big thing is at field training, make sure this doesn't get dirty, scratched. This one's nasty, but that's just what we have. Keep this in good shape. So it just screws onto the top here. Oh, that one doesn't fit through that. Anyway, when you're standing at attention, the big thing with the spade is that make sure the spade is facing, the flat side is facing in the direction that you're standing at attention. It should always be oriented just like this, facing forward. It should never be like that. If that happens at field training, you're going to get yelled at. If you're a guide-on bearer and that happens, the whole flight's going to get yelled at. So keep in mind, this spade always needs to be flat, facing forward. But none of you have spades yet, so don't worry about that.
Okay, McLaren, what's the reason for that?
You know the official reason for that? The official reason, I do not know. I would have to look that up, why the spade exists. You will hear people say that if the spade faces forward like it's not supposed to, that indicates that your unit is at war. But I'm not going to tell you that because I'm not 100% sure if that's real. That's just a rumor I've heard for 4 years in ROTC. So if you want to look it up, go for it. If not, I can look it up. I'll let you guys know when I find out. But keep the spade flat. That's all you need to know for ROTC purposes right now. So this is the guide-on itself, the guide-on pole, you'll hear people call it. And there's a lot to go through here. So we'll start with the position of attention. How it works is when you're standing in the position of attention, your feet 45 degrees, the spike at the bottom of the guide-on there will basically be along where your pinky toe would be. Think of it like that, flushed right up against your boot or your shoe. Your hand, guide-on is on your right side. Your hand is what's called the taco grip. So everybody go ahead and do that. Parallel thumb, parallel with the rest of your fingers. All you're gonna do is you're gonna take that and you're gonna slide it in from the back, just like that. Anybody see that? Questions so far? And so just like the position of attention, your arm needs to be as straight as possible, flush down your side. So again, the taco grip, and everything else with attention is the same. So the guide-on is into your shoulder, you're standing, your other hand is just like you would be at the position of attention, flush along your side. Any questions on the position of attention? So the next movement for it is parade rest. So what the guide-on bearer is going to do in parade rest is, you know how we do, you take the step out, your right foot doesn't move just as usual, so it goes parade rest. What you're going to do is all in one motion as your feet go out and this hand goes behind your back, you're basically going to let the guide-on come forward. And you're going to hold it with your arm fully straight. No bends, don't want to see this, not out here. The idea is that whichever direction you're facing, it should be in that direction. It should be straight forward. You will see plenty of cadets that try to do this. This is wrong. Do not let it go out to the side. It should be forward. Any questions on that? Other than that, parade rest is about the same, everything else. It's just what you're doing with the actual guide-on itself. So if you were to come back to attention, it's kind of an awkward motion. It takes some practice. You got to do it kind of quick, but you're going to snap back, right back to where it's in the shoulder. The taco grip remains the same. When you're at parade rest, you don't need to maintain the taco grip. You actually hold it. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Can everybody see this? Everybody not see this? Okay. So what's next? We'll go over present arms. So guide-on's a little different with present arms. I'm sure you guys have seen it. It's very ceremonial. So what it's going to look like is basically this. You're going to go up, and then it's going to come down off to the side. That is present arms for a guide-on. The idea is that the pennant at the end hangs down. You can actually see what it says. It's very ceremonial to do this during parade. So to go through the motions here, so the command is going to be present. On the command of present, the first motion you do is take that taco grip and send the pole straight up. Let it go flush along your arm all the way up. You can grab it here to stabilize it, and then arms. When they call arms, you're going to bring it parallel to the ground. Once your pretty much set, you're going to take this arm away. Now what's going to happen, like during the national anthem and parade, your arm may get tired depending on which guide on you have. It can get kind of heavy. If you absolutely have to, you can bring this arm and keep it there. You won't want to see people doing this. That looks bad. So if you have to, you can hold it down here still. But prefer this way. So one more time. Present. Up. Hoops. Down. Release. And then it's the opposite going the other way. So it goes order, comes up, same position, hoops. And you bring it. This one's kind of tricky because it likes to wobble around and you're going to miss. It just takes practice. But bring your hand across to kind of guide it back to the position of attention. That make sense?
Yes.
Any questions so far? Anything at all? I mean, really, no confusion on any part? Go for it.
You obviously don't look.
Sometimes. At field training, yes, you need to be looking straight ahead, but for your purposes, I understand if you kind of have to take a glance to make sure you're not stabbing yourself in the foot or you're not all the way out here. But as you do guide on more and more, it'll just flow. You won't even have to look, it just takes practice. Any other questions? Any two questions? What am I missing here? POC, what else?
Marching.
Marching, okay, let's get a formation here. POC, can you give me a flight real quick? Just 3 element leaders, basically. Can I get a flight commander? Can be a flight commander? First element, second element, third element. 3 element leaders. Okay. My first element, second element, third element. You understand where we're at? These are your element leaders at the front of the flight. So if Cadet Kim is up front, he's just following us in. This is called line formation. When you're facing the flight commander, it's line formation. If we were facing the other way, it would be called inverted line formation. So when you're in line formation, the guide on bear is going to be right here, right next to the first element leader. So now if we were going to start marching, Cadet Kim would give us a right haste, right face.
Right haste.
So the key is, you'd think, okay, the guide on bear just follows. Not true. Because the guide on bear, when you're in column formation, needs to be in front of the third element leader. So I do the right face with them, but then I do an additional right face and move to the third element leader. That make sense?
Yes, sir.
And the purpose of this guide on bear, you can think, here's Bates, here. The purpose is when you're marching with a formation, it's called a guide on bear, to guide the flight. Everybody in the flight follows this person. That's what their job is. But the key thing to remember is that the guide on bear cannot see what's going on behind them. Hopefully they're marching in a straight line. Hopefully they're going where they need to, but sometimes they can start drifting to the left and to the right. So the other crucial position is the third element leader. We expect you as the third element leader to let the guide on bear know when they're drifting. So he can whisper to me, say, hey, Kamakalani, you're drifting left. Hey, you're drifting right. Come back to the center. Slow down. Speed up. Because I can't see, so he's my eyes and ears, lets me know kind of where I need to be. Does that make sense? So if your guide on bear starts swerving off and your whole flight gets messed up, I personally would blame the third element leader more than I would the guide on bear, because the guide on bear is blind essentially. Make sense? So if you are the third element leader, you need to really help your guide on bear out. They're relying on you.
With the spade as well.
Yes, good point. Real quick, hold on. So like you were saying with the spade, like I said, the spade always needs to be flat facing forward. Third element leader, if you notice that that spade has started to turn, which it will, I guarantee you, you need to tell them, hey, rotate your guide on counterclockwise. Keep going, keep going. Okay, stop. Let them know. Keep them informed. Questions?
It's especially important that this third element leader talks or communicates with the guide on bear, because when you're coming out of a column movement, that's when there tends to be this sort of shift. Yeah. So communicate that.
Which brings up another good point. So in a column movement, flights here are comfortable with columns. You understand what they are, right? You know how they work? Okay, so in a column movement, the guide on bear doesn't really have an established set of steps. So if in this position we were going to do a column right, you know, this guy just does an immediate 90-degree turn. The guide on bear is kind of free to do what they need to do to make it look correct. So if we were doing a column right, it makes sense for me to kind of just need to shuffle back in front of the third element leader, which is where the third element leader say, hey, you need to come to the right a little more, you're still off. And that's what Cadet Manuel was talking about. When we make that turn, I don't know exactly where the third element leader is. So he may have to say, hey, turn to the right, turn to the left, get in front of me. If we were going to do a column left, it'd be kind of the same idea, except here I have to actually go further now, but same idea. The guide on bearer is just going to kind of coast out, stay roughly where you need to be, but again, the third element leader will let you know, help you adjust. Any questions up to this point? I know that's kind of fast, you'll get to practice. Anything else I need to cover? Good?
Sir, you can cover like facing movements. I mean, I have to bring it up.
Yes,
Instead of just
good question.
blasting or something.
So, went over attention, all that good stuff. Forgot to show you the facing movements. So how it works, again, taco grip at attention. If I'm going to make a right face, what you're going to do is right on that command of preparatory command, almost forgot. Preparatory command, so right, I'm going to come over and I'm going to pick the guidon up with my left hand to reseat it in this. Peace! And then once you've completed the motion, people do it different ways. You can either, once you've completed the motion, you can either drop it. I personally am not a fan of that because it just looks kind of sloppy, unless you can do it really sharp. But the other method to do it is to bring your arm back over and snap it down with your arm. So again, it'd be right, peace. Any questions? Did you guys see that? Right, peace. So as you notice, it kind of takes the guide on bearer a little longer to do movements. So if you're a flight commander, make sure you give them time. If you're calling a right face, give your guide on bearer time to do that stuff. Especially when you're going to column formation. Because remember, the guide on bearer has to run all the way over to the third element. So give them time before you start marching. Even if you're rushed, give your guide on bearer time. Any questions? Everybody's experts now? Doing it flawlessly? Okay, we'll practice now. So flight commanders, you got it.